Liam hunched his shoulders against the cold October wind as he pedaled his rusty bike along the cracked sidewalk. Overhead, dark clouds rolled in like a gray blanket covering the sky. A few yellow leaves swirled around his wheels as he rode past houses where families were probably sitting down to dinner together. His stomach growled. The Thompsons, his fifth foster family in 3 years, wouldn't hold dinner for him if he was late again. The park shortcut would save him 10 minutes. Liam turned off the main road and onto the narrow path that cut through Palmer Park. The smell of wet earth and pine trees filled his nose as his tires crunched over fallen leaves. This path felt like his secret, even though it wasn't. In the 3 years since his mom died and he entered foster care, Liam had learned to find small things that belonged just to him. His backpack, heavy with math homework he hadn't started, bounced against his back as he stood up on the pedals to climb the small hill. The worn photo of his mom, tucked safely in his wallet, pressed against his hip in his back pocket. Sometimes he would take it out at night when everyone was asleep, just to remember her face and her smile that always reached her eyes. The Thompsons were okay. They fed him, gave him a clean room, and mostly left him alone. But they weren't family. They were just a place to stay until he turned 18. Only 7 months away now. The first fat raindrop hit Liam's cheek as he reached the top of the hill. Great. Now he'd be wet and late. He pushed harder on the pedals, picking up speed as he started down the other side. The path curved ahead, running alongside the road where cars zipped by, their headlights starting to come on in the growing gloom. That's when he heard it. The roar of a motorcycle, the squeal of tires, then a sickening crash and scrape of metal on pavement. Liam squeezed his brakes hard, skidding to a stop. Just ahead, where the park path ran close to the main road, a large motorcycle lay on its side, one wheel still spinning. A big man in a leather jacket had been thrown against the metal guardrail and wasn't moving. For 3 heartbeats, Liam froze. Part of him wanted to just keep riding. Getting involved with strangers meant trouble, and he'd had enough trouble in his life. Mrs. Henderson's warning echoed in his head. Keep to yourself, Liam. That's how you stay out of trouble. But his mom's voice was louder. We help people who are hurt, Liam. That's what makes us human. Liam dropped his bike on the wet grass and ran toward the fallen rider. The man was huge, at least 6 feet tall, with broad shoulders and a thick beard streaked with gray. Blood seeped through a tear in his jeans where a jagged piece of metal had sliced his leg. His eyes were closed, and for a terrible moment, Liam thought he might be dead. Then the man groaned, his eyes fluttering open, hard, dark eyes that locked onto Liam immediately. Don't move, Liam said, pulling out his phone. I'll call an ambulance. The man's hand shot out with surprising speed, grabbing Liam's wrist. His grip was like iron. No cops, he growled. No ambulance. Liam tried to pull away, but the man held tight. That's when he noticed the patch on the leather jacket, a grinning skull with wings. Below it, the words, Hell's Angels, were stitched in red and white. Liam's mouth went dry. Everyone knew about the Hell's Angels motorcycle club. His foster brother had told him stories about them, how they ran drugs, fought with other gangs, and worse. The biker's grip loosened as pain crossed his face. Just help me up, kid, he said, his voice rough but weaker now. I got people who can help me, just not cops. Rain began to fall harder, washing blood onto the pavement in thin red streams. Liam had a choice to make, and only seconds to make it. Rain pelted Liam as he knelt beside the injured biker. Blood mixed with rainwater on the pavement. The man's face was tight with pain, but his eyes stayed fixed on Liam. "I know basic first aid," Liam said, his voice steadier than he felt. "Let me help with that cut first." Without waiting for permission, he pulled off his gray hoodie, his favorite one, the only piece of clothing he'd had since before foster care, and wrapped it tightly around the man's bleeding leg. The fabric quickly soaked through with red, but the bleeding seemed to slow. "Name's Ray," the biker said through clenched teeth. "What's yours, kid?" "Liam." He didn't know why he told the truth. Maybe because lying seemed pointless when he was already knee-deep in whatever this was. Ray nodded, then winced as he tried to sit up straighter. "Phone," he said, holding out a hand covered in road rash. "Need to call my brothers." Liam hesitated, his phone clutched tight in his wet hand. Helping with first aid was one thing. Calling more bikers here was another. His social worker's voice echoed in his head. "Stay away from trouble, Liam. One more incident and they'll move you to the group home in Riverdale." The group home was 40 miles away. New school, new faces, starting over again. Ray seemed to read his thoughts. "I ain't asking you to join the club, kid. Just need a phone call. Then you can go on your way." Something in the man's eyes, a kind of tired honesty, made Liam hand over his phone. Ray dialed with bloody fingers, then spoke in a low voice. "Yeah, it's me. Crashed the bike on Parkway Drive. Legs torn up pretty bad." A pause. "Some kid's helping me out. No, he's cool." Another pause. "Just get here, Dex." He handed the phone back to Liam, who wiped the blood off on his jeans. 10 minutes ticked by in silence as they waited, the rain easing to a drizzle. In the distance, police sirens wailed, but they were headed somewhere else. "Why'd you stop?" Ray finally asked. "Most people see a guy like me in trouble. They keep walking." Liam shrugged. "My mom was a nurse. She always helped people." "Was?" "She died 3 years ago. Cancer." Ray nodded slowly. "That's rough, kid. You got other family?" "Foster care," Liam said simply. Before Ray could respond, the rumble of motorcycles filled the air. 3 bikes pulled up on the roadside. The riders, all wearing the same leather jackets with the skull patches, rushed over. "Christ, Ray, what happened?" the tallest one asked, kneeling beside them. "Hit a slick spot. Bike went down," Ray said. "This is Liam. He patched me up." The tall biker looked at Liam for the first time, taking in his soaked t-shirt, the bloody hoodie around Ray's leg. "Thanks for helping our captain," he said, his voice gruff but sincere. Captain. The word hung in the air. Ray wasn't just any Hell's Angel. He was their leader. The bikers carefully helped Ray to his feet. He leaned heavily on 2 of them, but turned to Liam before they led him away. "You did good, kid. Not many would have stopped." He reached into his pocket with his good hand and pulled out 3 $20 bills. "For your hoodie, and the help." Liam shook his head. "I don't want your money." A small smile crossed Ray's face. "Proud. I respect that." He slipped the money back in his pocket. "Where do you live? Least we can do is give you a ride home. You're soaked." "Henderson Place on Maple Street, but I have my bike," Liam said, pointing to where it lay in the wet grass. "Dex will get it," Ray said. The tall biker nodded and went to retrieve Liam's bike. As they helped Ray onto the back of one motorcycle, he looked at Liam again. "This isn't over, kid. Hell's Angels pay their debts." The words sent a chill through Liam that had nothing to do with his wet clothes. He didn't want anything from the Hell's Angels. He just wanted to keep his head down, finish high school, and make it to 18 without any more problems. But as he climbed onto the back of Dex's motorcycle, his bike secured to another rider's bike, Liam had a sinking feeling that helping Ray was going to change things, whether he wanted it to or not. 3 days after the crash, Liam noticed the black motorcycle parked across from his school. The rider, wearing the now familiar leather jacket with the skull patch, nodded at him as he walked out after the final bell. Liam pretended not to see and walked faster, his heart thumping in his chest. The next morning, a different bike was parked down the street from the Henderson house. This time, Liam couldn't ignore it. The rider was Dex, the tall biker who had helped Ray. "Why are you watching me?" Liam asked, stopping 10 feet away. Dex shrugged. "Ray's orders. We look after people who help us." "I don't need looking after," Liam said. "Tell that to the Russo brothers," Dex replied. When Liam looked confused, he added, "The guys who used to push you around after school, they won't be a problem anymore." Liam felt cold all over. "What did you do to them?" "Just to talk," Dex said with a small smile. "Sometimes that's all it takes." At school that day, Tim and Joey Russo stayed far away from Liam. They had bullied him since he arrived at this school, but now they wouldn't even look at him. Other kids noticed and whispered when he passed. By lunch, everyone knew something had changed. "Is it true you're with the Angels now?" asked Ellie, a quiet girl from his math class, as he sat alone in the cafeteria. "I'm not with anyone," Liam snapped. But the rumors grew. Teachers watched him with new worry in their eyes. Mrs. Henderson asked pointed questions about where he went after school. His foster father started checking his backpack. A week after the crash, Liam was stocking shelves at the corner store where he worked part-time when the door chimed. Ray walked in, moving with a slight limp, but otherwise recovered. His big presence made the small store seem even smaller. "How's the leg?" Liam asked, trying to sound normal, as his boss eyed them nervously from behind the counter. "Healing," Ray said. "Got 12 stitches." He looked around the store. "This where you work?" Liam nodded. 4 days a week, saving up for when I age out of the system." Ray followed him down the aisle as he stacked cans of soup. "Got a plan for after?" "Community college, maybe. I'm good with cars." Ray smiled. "Bikes are better. I run a shop over on Franklin Street. Could use someone with good hands." Liam stopped stacking. "I helped you because you were hurt. I don't want to be involved with your club." "It's just a job offer," Ray said. "Nothing more." But it wasn't just a job offer. Liam knew that. Everything with the Hells Angels came with strings. 2 days later, Liam came home to find a police car parked outside the Henderson house. His stomach dropped. Inside, a tired-looking officer sat at the kitchen table with Mrs. Henderson, whose eyes were red from crying. "What's going on?" Liam asked. "Mr. Henderson had a heart attack at work," she said, her voice shaky. "He's in the hospital." The next weeks blurred together. Mr. Henderson survived but couldn't work. Mrs. Henderson took extra shifts at the nursing home. Bills piled up. Liam gave them his paycheck from the store, but it wasn't enough. Then came the letter from social services. Without Mr. Chakash Henderson's income, they couldn't keep Liam. He would be moved to a new placement, the group home in Riverdale. "I'm sorry," his social worker, Ms. Winters, told him when she came to explain. "We don't have any other options in this district." That night, Liam sat on the front steps of the Henderson house, his future crumbling around him. 7 months until he turned 18. 7 months that now felt like forever. A motorcycle engine rumbled down the street. Ray pulled up to the curb. "Heard you got problems," he said. Liam looked up. "How did you know?" "We got people everywhere, kid. That's how the club works." Ray shut off his bike. "What are they going to do with you?" "Move me to Riverdale. New school, new everything." Liam kicked at a rock on the sidewalk. right when I was finally figuring things out here." Ray was quiet for a long moment. "My cousin Lisa and her husband live 3 blocks from here. Good people. He works construction. She's a teacher's aide at the middle school. No kids of their own." Liam stared at him. "What are you saying?" "They could be foster parents. Been talking about it for years." Ray met his eyes. "If you want, I can make a call. Get the ball rolling." The offer hung in the air between them. Liam felt dizzy with the weight of it. "Why would you do that for me?" Ray touched the patch on his chest. "Not everyone wearing this patch is who you think we are. Some of us are fathers, sons. Some of us know what it's like to be moved around, to have no say in your life." He paused. "You helped me when others wouldn't." "Let me help you now." Rain fell again the day Liam stood on the Hendersons' porch with his backpack and a single duffel bag containing everything he owned. Mrs. Henderson hugged him tight, smelling of the hand lotion she always used. "You call us if you need anything," she whispered. "We tried, Liam. I'm sorry it wasn't enough." "It's not your fault," he said, and meant it. Ms. Winters waited in her car at the curb, engine running, wipers sweeping back and forth. Her folder of paperwork sat on the passenger seat. Transfer forms to the Riverdale group home. Liam had 3 minutes to decide. Down the street, Ray's motorcycle gleamed under the streetlight despite the rain. Next to it was a blue pickup truck. A woman with curly brown hair stood beside it. Lisa, Ray's cousin. She had visited twice in the last week. Her smile warm and her questions thoughtful. Her husband Mark had come too, a tall man with paint-splattered work boots who talked to Liam about cars and didn't treat him like a charity case. "They've been approved for emergency placement," Ms. Winters had told him yesterday, surprise in her voice. "Fastest I've ever seen it happen. Someone pulled some strings." Now Liam had to choose the known path to Riverdale or the unknown path with Ray's family. He thought of his mother's photograph in his wallet. He could almost hear her voice. "Judge people by what they do, Liam, not by what others say about them." The rain soaked through his jacket as he walked to Ms. Winters' car. He leaned down to her open window. "I'm going with the Millers," he said. Her eyes widened. "Are you sure? We don't know much about them." "I'm sure," she sighed. "It's your choice. I'll have to file different paperwork." She looked past him to where Ray sat on his bike. "I hope you know what you're doing." Liam walked back up the sidewalk, past the Henderson house, to where Lisa waited by her truck. She smiled and opened the passenger door. "Ready?" she asked. Liam nodded, then turned to Ray. "I need to say something first." He approached the motorcycle, standing tall despite the rain plastering his hair to his forehead. "I'm grateful," Liam said, "but I need you to understand something. I don't want to be in your club. I don't want to owe you. I just want to finish school here." Ray studied him, raindrops catching in his beard. Then he nodded. "You got a good head on your shoulders, kid. Nobody's asking you to patch in. This is just me paying a debt." "No debt," Liam insisted. "I'd have helped anyone. That's why you deserve the help back." Ray started his engine. "Lisa and Mark are good people. They'll give you space to figure out who you want to be." As if summoned by his name, Mark pulled up in his work van, rolling down the window. "House is ready. Made up the spare room." Liam climbed into Lisa's truck, his bags at his feet. Through the window, he watched Ray and Mark exchange a nod before Ray rode off, the motorcycle's roar fading into the distance. The Miller house was small but clean, with a room that had its own desk and bookshelf. Pictures of Lisa and Mark covered the walls, hiking, at the beach, at a family reunion. No other children, just as Ray had said. "Bathroom's down the hall," Lisa told him. "We eat dinner at 6 most nights, but we can be flexible." "Any questions?" Liam had 100 questions, but he just shook his head. That night, he sat on his new bed and took out his mother's photograph. Her smile seemed brighter somehow. "I think I did the right thing, Mom," he whispered. A knock came at his door. Mark stood there, holding a box. "Found this in the garage. Thought you might like it." Inside was a model car kit, a '67 Mustang. "Ray mentioned you're good with your hands," Mark said. "Thought we could work on it together, if you want." "Thanks," Liam said, running his fingers over the box. "I'd like that." After Mark left, Liam stood at the window. The rain had stopped, and stars peeked through breaks in the clouds. Somewhere across town, the Hells Angels were at their clubhouse. Ray was there, maybe telling the story of how a foster kid saved his life. Liam wasn't naive. He knew the club did things that crossed lines, but he also knew now that people weren't always what they seemed. Sometimes a scary biker was just a man who needed help. Sometimes help came from unexpected places. He put his mother's photo on the nightstand where he could see it from his bed. For the first time in 3 years, he felt something like hope taking root inside him. Not because someone had rescued him, but because he'd made a choice. He'd taken a chance on trust, just as Ray had when he let a stranger help him on a rainy day. Liam opened the model car kit, spreading the parts across his new desk. Tomorrow would bring what it would bring. Tonight, he had a room of his own, and 7 months until his 18th birthday, 7 months to build whatever came next.